Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here. I am here today with the Donner DEP-20 piano, DEP Digital Electric Piano -20. So the past few reviews that I've been doing for keyboards are all high-end keyboards. We're talking 4 digits in cost. The last one I did was a Roland FP90X, which is about $2,500. So I figure let's go to the other end of the spectrum and cover pianos that are for beginners. Because let's face it, if you want to learn piano and you're not sure if you're going to stick with it, you don't really want to go ahead and spend a lot of money and then find out it's not for you. So, this I found to be the perfect beginner piano. It's not a lot of money. It's, as of right now, something like $385 or $389. And since we're talking about that low of a price, I kind of figured, okay, at that low of a price, it can't be any good until I tried it. Now, Donner is a company that's been in business since 2012. They started out making effects pedals for guitars and that kind of thing. And then they branched off into other fields. They started making actual guitars and then keyboards and even drum sets and all kinds of musical things, even loudspeakers and PAs. So it's really, really cool. I was amazed at the quality. Now, the reason I took this on to review is I did some research and I found that almost all of the reviews out there were all positive, and they weren't all from beginners. There are people who have tried this who are actually pianists. Now, granted, you're not going to be using this to play a concert or a recital, but if you're just starting out, and if you're a kid and you're just starting out in a band and they need a keyboard player, this is an excellent board to learn with and actually to perform with if you're in a band. You can even actually perform with it as a solo pianist as well. Now, the sound quality, of course, is not going to compare to, a $2,000 or a $1,000 or an $800 piano. But listen to this. I mean, this is that sounds really good coming from a $385 piano. Come on. And it's not just piano. There are actually 238 different sounds or tones or samples, whatever you want to call them. They're all built into here. 238. And you even have rhythms that make it fun to practice along with, not just the boring metronome, which it has, but you can use rhythms to play it along with. It's got 200 different rhythms and 100 different demos, so you can play back some demo stuff as well. Now, the sound chip is made by a company in France that goes by the name of Dream. This is the Dream chip, and it's actually not bad at all. And as far as polyphony, it has 128 note polyphony. There are keyboards out here for twice the price that don't even have that kind of polyphony. 128 is actually excellent for an amount of polyphony. Now, if you're not familiar, polyphony means poly means many, phony means sounds, many sounds at the same time. So, since this is a stereo keyboard, every note you play is worth two sounds of polyphony. You have the left channel and the right channel. So this is two right here. If I'm using 4 fingers on each hand, that's 8 notes of polyphony, and another 8, that's 16. If I press the pedal, that's 17, because that is considered a note of polyphony right there. Now, so 17, just to play this, and I'm holding it with the pedal. While I do that, all the rest of the notes are also being held because I have the pedal down. So when you get up to 128, it starts stealing from the earlier notes that you played. and it turns those off to make room for the new ones. You're basically not going to be in that kind of a situation with a piano like this. You're just not. It's not going to use anywhere near the 128. So you are more than covered. And also the amount of polyphony deals with speed, how fast it can process stuff. So this is doing well in that department. Now, it comes with a user manual. And like many user manuals, it's going to help a little bit, but it's actually not going to teach you how to use this. It also comes with a music rest. It just slips right in. You put your music on it. And get this. A lot of manufacturers do, if they do include anything, they'll include a basic little box that's a foot switch on off, a little square thing, cheap thing. They give you a zinc alloy pedal right here. It looks good and it actually performs well. So what you're getting right off the bat is pretty good. For $385, I mean, I am impressed. And you can also optionally get a triple pedal for this that has the same 3 pedals that an acoustic piano would use. You can also get a stand for it, a furniture style stand, and a matching triple pedal to go along with that as well. But just the way it is, where I have it sitting on a stand that I use for all of my keyboards, you're good to go. Now the key action itself, it's an ABS progressive keyboard. It's weighted. It's a Korean manufacturer. I don't know which one, but I do know it's built in Korea, and it's kind of similar to Medeli, but it's not Medeli. I know that. Now, as far as physical stuff like dimensions and weight, this is 52.3 inches in length, which is a good length because this will fit in the back of most cars, in the back seat of most cars. And it's 11.6 inches deep, and it comes in a little high at 7.3 inches, but still doable. It's probably high because of the built-in speakers. This is 25-watt speakers, pretty good for if you want to practice. And if you're starting out with piano, you probably don't have speakers or studio monitors of your own to plug this into, which you can do. So you're going to start out with the built-in speakers, which is adequate, and it's fairly good. If you have a party in a living room or something, this should be sufficient to also play at that party. And the weight is 25.5 pounds. So you really can't beat the measurements and the weight for $385. That's pretty cool. And the key action, like I mentioned. So first, let's get into, before I cover the front panel and all the functions, let's get into the back panel. And let's see what you've got there. You've got your USB-A and USB-B. The A is for putting in a flash drive or USB memory stick, and that's going to have all your MP3 files on there, and this will play it. This is also doubling as an MP3 player. USB-B is the one that looks like a square. It's a kind of a square jack. That's where you can hook up that to your computer, and now you've got MIDI over USB. So with that, you can start using a DAW or digital audio workstation to really come up with some serious performances. Then we've got the proprietary pedal jack, and that's for their triple pedal. Then we've got the 1/4-inch sustain pedal input jack, which I'm using with the pedal that I just showed you, which comes with it. Then the next two are 1/4-inch stereo audio input and audio output jacks. Now, since it has built-in speakers, they figured they were just putting in a single stereo audio output jack. And that's fine because what I'm doing is we're recording directly from here. So what you're hearing is not coming through the speakers, it's coming from the line outputs, which is that 1/4 inch stereo output jack. And I'm using an adapter that breaks that up into 2/4 inch plugs. So I have a left and a right, and that'll plug into any mixer or recorder or whatever. Then we have the DC power in jack, and that is for the included AC adapter that comes with this. All right, and then we come to the front, and there's a couple of more jacks in the front. Those are 2/4 inch stereo headphone jacks. So you can actually listen and even have somebody else listening too while you're both playing a duet or whatever, student teacher, that kind of thing. All right, now let's get to the fun part. Let's start with the front panel. Okay, so we have a bunch of buttons and a slider, and that's all we've got. And then, of course, we have this nice little LCD display. All right, so the power jack on and off, obviously self-explanatory. Next is a volume slider. So, of course, slide it to the left and you have 0 to no volume. Slide it to the right and you have increasing loudness. So I have it set right now perfect for the level I need to record this. Next to that, these 3 switches are MP3 control switches. So when you have a memory stick plugged in here with MP3 files, this is the transport control and the volume control for that. So basically, you have play, pause, fast forward, rear or rewind, and these double as volume controls as well. So when you're just pressing either of these, those are transport control. When you hold the left one, which is labeled volume on the bottom, then it controls the volume. When you hold the right one, which says plus for volume, then it controls the volume, bringing it louder. And this is, again, for the MP3 files. That volume relates to that. Okay. Next, we're going to go into this section here. There's 6 buttons. There's voice, there's rhythm, there's start-stop, there's sync, and then there's transpose. So voice takes you into the menu where you get to choose which voice or sample or whatever instrument you want to play. On top of that, it says grand piano. So let's say you're changing voices here. And once you press this voice, you're going to use these transpose buttons, have a plus and minus underneath them to go up to the next sound and up to the next sound, all the way up to 238 different sounds, or backwards to the previous sound, and so on and so forth. So the transpose buttons also double as forward and backward to the next sound, whichever you want to play. So to give you an example, it's set for grand piano right now. Actually sounds really good for $385. Can't get over that. All right, so I'm going to go to the next one, which is a bright piano. The next one, and that's an electric grand piano. The next one, a honky-tonk piano. Next one, electric piano 1. Next one, a variation, electric piano 2. A little softer than that first electric piano that we heard. Here's a harpsichord. Next one's a clavinet. I'm not going to go through everything, just a few things. Here's a celesta. A glockenspiel. A music box. A vibraphone. A marimba. So you can have a lot of fun with all the, again, 238 different sounds here. A xylophone. Tubular bells, remember that? A dulcimer. A Hammond organ. Probably brings back some memories, just that organ sound alone. Here's a percussion organ. A rock organ. A church organ. A reed organ. Accordion. Harmonica. Here's a nylon guitar. And a steel guitar. And a slap bass. Slap bass too. A synth bass. And there's regular basses and violins and violas and cellos. A harp. Timpani. Strings. They even have choirs, ahs, and oohs. Orchestra hits. Trumpets, trombones, tubas. So you got just about every instrument you can think of. It's here. There's a flute. Various synthesizers. New age sounds. Pads. There's just so much here. 238. And again, I'm not going to go through everything, but you get an idea. Soundtrack. Sci-fi. Banjo. Some instruments I never even heard of, so those are more worldly instruments. Wood block. Of course, different key changes the pitch. And we even have sound effects. Here's the seashore. You hear the waves coming in and going out. And of course, depending on what key you hit, it changes the pitch. Birds. Telephone. Helicopter. Applause. Gunshot. So anyway, that's just a small sample of the 238 different voices this thing has. Just amazing. So, like I said, no matter where you are here, this voice button here, above it, it says grand piano. So if I want to get back to a piano quickly from anywhere I am in these 238, I just double tap and I'm back to my grand piano. Now, one thing I want to point out is, and I'm skipping ahead of myself, but I just need to point this out. I've been using this with, there's an effect button, and it's basically an on-off switch. And basically all it does is give you kind of an ambience or a reverb. And we've had that on up until now. This is what it's like without it. So, when I play my other song, so that may actually be more suited without it to play a song like that. But if I turn it on, gives it a little more depth or a little more character. All right, so those were the voices, and the only downside I see to this as far as choosing voices, they don't have a jog wheel or anything like that. So basically, whatever voice you want to get to, you're going to be using the plus minus switches, and you're going to hold it down to go a little faster to get to whatever voice you want. So if you want to get to voice number 97, you're going to hold that down until it reaches 97. That's the only gripe that I have with this so far. But I do like that I can just double press or double click on the grand piano, and I'm back at the grand piano. All right, the next one next to that is similar to a voice, but instead of voice, you're going to be choosing rhythms. So, and it's labeled rhythm. So when I press rhythm, we're no longer selecting voices, we're selecting rhythms. So here's rhythm 000. It's a 8 blue 1 is what it's labeled. It's a 4/4 time signature, and it has 105 beats per minute. So when I go ahead and play that, start, stop, that's what I've got. So like I said, when you press the voice button, you can choose from the 283 different voices that are built in. When you press the rhythm button, you can choose from the 200 different rhythms that are built in. So we're going to go, right now it says rhythm 011, shuffle 5. So if I go to play that by hitting start, stop, that is the button next to the rhythm. I'll hit that, and it starts playing that. And we'll see it's a 4/4 tempo. And we'll see it's a 4/4 time signature, which can be changed. But more importantly, this 100 is indicating how many beats per minute. Now, I'm skipping ahead of myself over here. On this side, there's a tempo minus and tempo plus. So if I want to slow it down, I'll hit the tempo minus. If I want to speed it up, let's say I want to go to 120 beats per minute. Let's do that. And like I said earlier, it's so much more fun to play along with the rhythm than it is to a boring metronome, which this also has. And again, you can set the beats per minute, you can set the time signature. There's a lot of things you can set with this. Now, this is just that one rhythm I was showing you, shuffle 5. And we can go ahead and change that over here. Here's a blues 1. And it changes when it finishes the current meter. Okay. I pressed it, but there we go. There's the change after it finished the current one. So you can just hold this down until you get to something you like. Here's rhythm and blues. Swing, jazz, big band, cool jazz, fusion, the foxtrot, country, con shuffle, Latin, again, 200 different ones. So let me stop this. Next to this, there's another button that's labeled sync, which stands for synchronize. So if I press that, it's the same thing as pressing the start stop, except it doesn't start at the moment you press it. It's waiting for you to play something. It'll start that drum sequence when you hit your first note. Okay, you press it again, that turns it off. All right. And as I was showing you, these left and right are plus and minus actually to go to the next sequence or the next rhythm or the next tone. Together, pressing these buttons together, it's labeled trans, which means transpose. So if I press them together, now I'm seeing transpose, a transpose of 0. Oh, I don't want the drums. All right. If I hit the plus button, so basically you're playing So basically you're playing a song in C, your singer knows it in D flat, you don't. So you just hit the transpose to make it D flat, make that the default. Now you're playing in C, but it comes out in D flat. So transpose is a really handy button to have, especially when it's right there on the front panel. Oh, too many keyboards I've played, you have to go into a menu and fish for it. Not cool. So I like it right where it's at. The display, well, you can see it's a 2-line display, and it's pretty good. You don't have to struggle to read it. Now, the next 6 buttons, demo, chord, touch, effect, split, and tempo. Demo starts the demo. And you can go to the next one. Dancing Queen. Okay, so you get the idea. There's 100 of those. And everything you hear was made on this keyboard. They probably used a DAW or a sequencer to put together more than one instrument at a time, but they actually built it into the firmware so that you can press demo and you'll hear it. Now touch, that's a good one. I have my touch, key touch as normal. You can go to hard. I'm barely touching these keys. And if I go to off, never mind off, we'll go to soft. Look at that. Those are for people that are heavy on the piano here. So I just stick with normal. Chord, I'm not going to get into. I went into touch. Next is effect, and I told you already what that is. So without that effect on, it's just plain dry. And with it on, split. So this is good for a student and teacher type of thing. Listen to this. This is the exact same note. They divide the keyboard into 2 44-note pianos. So when I'm playing down here, teacher shows you what to play, student is playing up here, or reversed. And that's a pretty cool thing. Tempo we already got into. That's for when you're using rhythms and such. Tempo minus and tempo plus. Now double voice is layer, basically. That's a piano and strings. And you can choose what sounds you want. Press drum And for those, I'm not one of them, but for those who who play drums on the keyboard, obviously you need to know which keys control what drum. And I'm not one of those people, but there are people out there that I've seen play, and they are absolutely amazing. They play a complete drum part on the keyboard. So you can do that here. Then there's the metronome, and you can have it with that bell on the first beat. Bell. Or you can turn that off. And of course, you can change the tempo and that kind of thing as well. So that's cool for when you're just learning stuff and how to play along with a metronome. Now record and replay. You hit record, and now that's with a metronome. So you can turn the metronome off. It's not going to record the metronome either way. That's what I recorded. Let's try this again without the metronome. And let's play that back. So I was adding stuff to that while it was playing back. And that's good for, let's say you're recording your left hand when you're learning a new piece. Then you'll go ahead and play that back while you add the right hand. And vice versa. Maybe you'll record the right hand, and while you're playing that back, add the left hand. That's an easy way to learn or to practice. And again, this is a one-track recorder. So you can't really do much more than just one track. That's where hooking this up to a DAW comes in, and since this has MIDI over USB, you're all set to do that. So this concludes the demo or overview of the Donner DEP-20 portable piano or portable keyboard. Very, very impressive for $385. Oh my God. And actually I found that at $385 that you could buy this to use just as a controller, meaning if you're using some software like Piano Tech or something else on your computer, this will control it. Basically, you're going to turn the volume down to 0 so you don't hear what's being played here through the built-in sounds. You're going to turn that down to 0, and what you're playing is going to be coming out on your computer. So whatever instrument you pick on your computer, that's what you're going to be playing. So very versatile. I can highly recommend this at this price point. It is especially for beginners. It's probably the best thing I could find for beginners, but it's so good you could actually use it as a controller, like I just mentioned, and do pretty good. So if you're a beginner, or if you're on a limited budget, or if you want to use this just as a controller, don't expect Kawai MP11 SE type of action on there. You're not going to get that. But then again, this isn't $3,000 either. So, bottom line, well worth it. The two gripes I have are choosing a voice or a sample, holding down the left and the right till you get to whichever one of the 283 sounds that you're looking for. The second gripe, same thing, but in the rhythm section, there's 200 rhythms. Same thing, you want to get to the one you want, you're going to have to use those plus and minus keys until you get to the one that you want. Other than that, I think it's pretty good. Go ahead and check out the links in the description. But for those of you looking for a beginner piano, this is the way to go. Hope this has helped you out. Piano Man Chuck. Peace out. Thanks for watching.